because AI adoption is like culture. It's built on one intentional choice at a time. So we've talked really quickly about things, how AI can help you in your leadership, but where are those pitfalls? If you're a leader that's feeling buried under all the admin work, maybe you're struggling to find time for your team or wondering how you're going to compete for the top talent in 2026, this episode is for you. AI isn't here to replace your leadership. It's here to amplify it. So today we're going to break down exactly how to use AI to build that high-performance team without losing the human touch that makes our culture thrive. Welcome, everybody, to the Leaders Leading Leaders podcast. I'm your host, John Espinosa. I'm going to use my 20 years of leadership experience to help share my mistakes and hopefully to help you, guess what, build that high-performance team so that way you can step away, you can take that vacation, you can spend time with your kids, and you don't have to be connected to your business or to your organization. So let's get into the content today, because today I'm going to talk about how AI can be your cultural amplifier, not a replacement for your culture. So for me, AI has begun to handle all of my repetitive tasks. And what that's allowed me to do is it's allowed me to to focus on the relational aspects of being a leader. And this is the secret sauce. If you think that AI is a cheat code or AI needs to be a replacement for leadership, you're wrong. Practical applications that I use AI for every single day, sometimes multiple times during the day, but especially hiring. I use AI to screen resumes for skills, for experience. So I will take a job description and load it into AI. And then as resumes are coming in through whatever source that you're getting them from, I match them up against AI. I have a rubric that I use, and this allows me to identify those applicants, especially those resumes, because I promise you, a lot of your applicants, they're using AI to write those resumes. So what are things that you are able to do to screen those resumes? I would put the very specific skills that you are looking for. Is it experience? Is it X number of years of experience? Is it something that a college degree? Is it ability to communicate? Is it ability to, serve as a customer service agent? Whatever that is, be very specific and create yourself a template. And you can do this for multiple jobs. If you have multiple positions that you're constantly hiring in the organization, create a resume. I use ChatGPT. You can create a project for every single job within your organization. So what does this do for you? This frees you up to focus on the interview and to make sure that that individual fits culturally, that their values align with the organization, and that they have the emotional intelligence to be part of the team instead of having to screen through a resume. Now, you may have an HR office that does that for you, so give them what you're looking for and have them or ask them to use AI to screen those applicants. You're going to get a better candidate when you get to that interview process than you would if you're just having a generic resume search for keywords. People are getting smart. So hiring, AI screen. What about onboarding? Because now once you get them on, once you've made that selection, now we got to onboard them. For me, this is one of the most powerful pieces. And I've just recently onboarded 2 people within an organization that I lead. And what did I do? I created these automated check-ins. So I have a schedule. I use 90 days. You don't have to use 90 days. You can use weekly or you can use maybe monthly. But what that does for us, especially if you have multiple new hires coming on, as leaders, it ensures that no new hires fall through the cracks. Because now what that also allows us to do is we're able to focus on the relationship building piece, which For me, that is a huge piece of onboarding. I want people not just to onboard to the specific skills and tasks of the organization, but I also need them to build relationships with their peers and the leadership. So onboarding, create those automated check-ins, whether it's hey, have you got access to certain systems? Or have you got added to an email list, right? If you got a group email list, that's those things that you probably have in a checklist already, put that into AI and then put some hard dates to when that needs to be done. First week, second week, third week, 30 days, 90 days, all training needs to be done, or these set of courses need to be done. Whatever that looks like, put it into AI, have it create those automated check-ins. Now it frees you up to do the relationship building piece. Hey everyone, a quick break in the episode today. Are you struggling to find and keep the right employees? You're not alone. High turnover drains time, money, and morale, leaving us frustrated, overwhelmed, and feeling like we have to settle for less. I understand how tough hiring can be because I've lived it. And with over 21 years of building high-performance teams, I know how to turn hiring challenges into lasting employee success. Through my proven lead framework, we're going to analyze your processes, design a personalized strategy, and implement solutions that create confident and long-term results. Don't let turnover hold you back. Choosing this program is that first step towards a thriving workplace. Enroll today at thejohnespinosa.com and build the team you deserve. Imagine a team that works seamlessly together or keep facing the same costly cycle of turnover. The choice is yours. Now back to our episode. The third practical application here, feedback loops. Now, feedback loops, things like surveys or sentiment analysis, this gives you that temperature check. So you can intervene before turnover happens. And I do this a lot through my one-on-ones, but I also like to send out those surveys because as you're getting to know people in your organization, and people's organizations can vary as far as size, what this allows you to do is create that pulse survey to allow people to give you feedback anonymously, give you feedback even if they put their name to it so you can follow up. I mean, as people become more comfortable, they're going to be able to provide that feedback in a one-on-one. But if you have an organization of 20 to 25, you're not able to meet one-on-one as frequently as you probably need in order to get ahead, of that turnover. So have AI build that feedback loop, and it allows you, again, to intervene before somebody thinks about leaving or they get poached to go to another company. So the main takeaway here for this first point is, remember, AI isn't meant to build trust, but it can tell us when trust is breaking down before it's too late. So let's talk about our lead framework and how I have enhanced the lead framework using AI. So this is my framework that I coach on, and it's something, again, if you've been listening to this podcast for quite some time, LEAD stands for listen, envision, align, and then drive. And when we talk about how to incorporate AI or how AI supports the LEAD framework, a couple things. So let's start with that listen step. And here, AI can support us by that employee feedback like we talked about earlier. How about exit interviews? You can quickly create a survey using AI for an exit interview. It allows you to identify the themes. Maybe somebody's leaving because you got a poor frontline manager in your organization and they're complaining about that individual, or, clarity. Maybe they didn't understand where the company was going. Again, it allows us to listen in a different way. And then it also allows us to get some engagement metrics. And we know it's been proven, many, many studies out there, that employee engagement, the more employees are engaged, you're going to get better culture, you're going to get better, your decrease in sick leave, leave period, really, and people are going to bring you problems. So what's our role in that listen step? Well, we're able to interpret those patterns. One of the key things that I look for in any one of my leadership positions within my organization is pattern recognition. So it allows us to identify those patterns and then have that human conversations. In those human conversations, that's where the rubber meets the road. And we'll talk more about how AI doesn't supplement or doesn't, isn't in place for having those difficult conversations. So that's the first one. Listen. Let's talk about how AI supports our second step, which is envision. Now, here we can use AI to analyze those industry hiring trends. So if you have an industry that maybe, in a government industry or a private industry, there's a lot of discrepancy between salaries. So what's that salary benchmark? If I'm in a government industry and I want to hire from a private industry, guess what? A lot of times you're probably not going to be able to hit that salary. So what else can you do, as far as benefits or pay in order to make up for that? So that's how one way that we can use AI in that envision step. Another way how it supports us is retention strategies. Retention strategies along the lines of, again, if you got a pay discrepancy, what are some other retention strategies that you can use? And going back to listen, everything starts with that listen step, right? How can we use those metrics, those engagement metrics, to turn into tangible retention strategies? So what's our role as a leader? Well, we craft the vision. It's important for us to communicate that vision with authenticity. And when we do that, and we use the AI models of hiring trends, salary benchmarks, and competitor retention strategies, guess what? It just allows us to be able to refine that vision to where people want to stay longer. Let's talk about the third one, align. So how can AI support us in this align step? Well, for one, it creates those personalized development plans. And that is based on the skill gaps or the career goals. So when we do have those performance conversations, and hopefully you're having them at least annually, I would recommend quarterly, 4 times a year. But as you're having those, again, go back to the position description, like we talked about earlier with onboarding, load that in, have some type of template. You can even have AI develop that template for you. Have the employee give you feedback on that template. And now what you can do is what we call in the training industry is a skill gap analysis. And when we have that gap, guess what our role is now? Instead of determining that gap, we coach on that gap. We mentor on that gap. And then we hold people accountable for achieving the things that are necessary in order to close that gap. So that's how we can use AI and then our role. And then last but not least, drive. So drive, where AI can support us, is it tracks those KPIs. It can send reminders. It automates those progress reports. So again, when I say drive, when it gets into the lead framework, in order for us to make sure we're in alignment and we're not driving in 2 different directions, we have to have common metrics. We have to have common goals. And when we're able to use AI to support us in tracking those key performance indicators and automate those progress reports, now we as a leader, we get to celebrate the wins. And where we need to course correct, it's more easily identifiable. And now we just simply make the correction. And then what that does is it begins to build momentum in our organization. So, AI, think of AI as our research assistant. It's our admin. It's our data analyst. But the thing here, you're still the leader. That never changes. So let's talk about the third point. In this third point, I want to get into the tactical piece. So what tools? I'm going to give you 3 that every single leader should start using tomorrow. Tool number 1, AI-powered interview assistants. Interviews take up a lot of time, and maybe you're a smaller organization out there, so you're saying, hey, John, I got my team ready. I don't really interview a lot. Good for you. What I would then kind of turn this to is those performance evaluations, right? Those discussions that you're going to have. So this tool right here, like a MetaView or a BrightHire, what these tools allow us to do, and the way that I've used them in the past, is it allows us to record and transcribe interviews. And I'm trying to listen and not write down. I know I've sat on interview panels. I've been the selecting official. I've even been on the other side, right, of an interview panel. And as you're writing down, trying to catch the key responses and score that on a rubric, I don't know about you, but that's about 5 things at once. And I can barely walk and talk and chew gum. So what I love about these tools is it's able to give you a transcription. And then you can use that transcription to highlight the key moments in those candidate responses. So ingest your rubric, how you score that rubric, and then allow AI to help you score that candidate. Now, again, for me, I'm going to use that as one of the data points in hiring people, not my only one. But what this does, and what I found, is it's going to eliminate the bias because it focuses on the objective data. So these tools, very, very powerful when we talk about interview assistants. And remember, to use AI transcripts to standardize that interview process. And then what I've found, here's the gift in all of this, is now what you can do is you can train new managers on what great hiring looks like. So if you got an employee that you busted on, I've had a couple, right? And they did well in the interview, very good as far as communicating what their skills were, and then they just were a dud. I will use that as a use case to say, hey, listen, these are the things that occurred within the interview, and this is the kind of what we got. We had to let this employee go. Within that first 90 days, you're going to tell a lot. You're going to tell whether you need to keep them or you need to help them move on somewhere else. And then the other piece is, if you got a great hire, what did they do well in the interview, and how did your rubric identify that? Because it's a constant tweaking process, especially if you have a high turnover. If you work in an industry like a customer service industry, restaurant, I worked in the restaurant for many years, very high turnover, right? You're just needing some help there. Whatever that looks like, these tools, especially for interview assistants, they can not only help you select a candidate, but then you can use them to train the managers. So that's tool 1. Let's talk about tool 2 here, is AI engagement platforms. So things like Culture Amp or Office Vibe. These send those surveys like I talked about. We call them pulse surveys. And these pulse surveys, that's what they do. They get the pulse of the organization. They're quick. They're normally 5 questions or less, or you can get in there and you can customize them. But normally I would keep them to 5 questions or less. You can do a Likert scale from strongly agree to strongly disagree, or 1 to 5, however you like to do that. These platforms will help you achieve all of that. But what it does is it allows you to track sentiment trends over time. And for me, I'm constantly, like, every 90 days, I'm looking back, okay, what can we start, stop, and continue? That just doesn't pertain to the projects that we're working on, but it also, for me, it's the cultural aspects. It's our values. What do we need to start, stop, and continue? What do we celebrate and what do we tolerate? That's what creates culture within our organizations. So these engagement platforms allow you as a leader to put the pulse on the organization, and it allows us to also maybe flag those at-risk employees. So if you do send them out to individuals and ask for feedback, you may start recognizing, again, the pattern recognition piece. Hey, Bob, he was pretty engaged 2 months ago, and it looks like there's something going on. Maybe that's an opportunity for you to have a conversation. Probably something going on in the personal life that's flowing over into your work life, but it gives you an indicator, right? It gives you that red alert that allows you now to set up a meeting, or maybe just even during a lunch. Hey, Bob, you got a couple minutes? I'd love to have a chat. Something like that. So the action step here is, I want you to set up 2 monthly question pulse surveys. So just a 2-question pulse survey, and then review the results during your one-on-ones. Very powerful tool. I've used it in several of my organizations, and it works. So tool 3 here, this is my favorite. That's why I saved it to last: AI learning and development. Things like LinkedIn Learning with AI recommendations or Growth Space. So these tools, they personalize training based on role, goals, and skill gaps. And for me, it just makes my heart warm because this is where I've spent a majority of my life is in training. And it enables the leader to really step back and empower the employee to train, right? So it automates the reminders, it tracks completion. Now, if you have a learning management system with your organization, LinkedIn a lot of times can be used as a plugin, or LinkedIn can be used as really just an avenue for people to go and get career development, personal development, whatever that looks like, but it will suggest the next steps for career pathing. So say if you have a career progression and you may have a step 1, 2, and 3 within your organization. If somebody wants to move from step 1 to step 2, what does that look like? And what roles, what training does that individual need to get? Is it experience? Maybe there's a solicitation of interest, or we call detail opportunity, to go and shadow somebody, go on a 90 to 120-day detail to get experience in that area. Maybe it's cross-training within your organization. So you want to take somebody that does marketing and you want to move them over into sales, right? What does that cross-training look like? Not necessarily that you're going to move that individual, but if you have a greater appreciation for what one section does versus the other, now they're not running into each other. So they create processes and create systems that work together. So those are opportunities for you to use an AI learning and development tool to really help shape the organization, personalize that training, and close those skills gaps. So the action here, I want you to build one personalized 90-day growth plan using one of these AI recommended courses, and then I want you to check in weekly with those individuals. So just start small. Again, we want to shrink that start, pick one tool, master it, and then begin to scale it. Because AI adoption is like culture. It's built on one intentional choice at a time. So we've talked really, really quickly about things, how AI can help you in your leadership. But where are those pitfalls, right? There's always going to be pitfalls with any tool, whether it's AI or any other system and process that we get into. So the first pitfall, using AI to avoid those hard conversations. And here, I would encourage you, don't let AI replace the tough talks about performance, or if you got misalignment in values. And especially, please don't use AI to terminate somebody. I've seen it, and I shouldn't even have to say it, but replacing or using AI to avoid the conversation that you feel uncomfortable with, that's not a good use of AI. So AI can flag performance issues, but you still need to have that face-to-face conversation. Pitfall number 2, over-relying on AI for culture decisions. So here, AI can measure engagement, but it can't tell you why someone feels disconnected. That's when you need to have that discussion. Again, AI should never replace the one-on-one conversations that you need to have. So, an example that I can think of is a drop in survey scores may require you to get more curious. Don't just use a dashboard, right? As you see a trend, don't just rely on that dashboard information, because maybe something's changed. Maybe there's a realignment. Maybe you got new employees shifting around and something wasn't communicated. But a drop in scores needs to elicit a human curiosity. It needs to get you to get in there and start questioning and talking and having discussions, not just relying on a dashboard. Pitfall number 3, forgetting that people want to be led by people. I know sometimes that, especially when you look at the Gen Z or millennials, especially those Gen Z and millennials, they want authentic, human-centered leadership. No ifs and ands or buts about it. So an example here is if AI generated a thank you email, that will never replace a handwritten note or an in-person recognition. You can tell when you see an email, especially if I know the leader, if I know somebody in the organization and they write a certain way, they talk a certain way, because we write as we talk. And so if you get an email that was sent and it just sounds robotic, right? It doesn't sound anything like what the leader or what that individual speaks like, or what you know, or what you've seen them kind of act. That's going to be a red flag. So AI, again, it should never replace that authenticity that we get through the human connection. The key insight here that I want to take away from these 3 pitfalls is AI is powerful, but it's our presence, it's our empathy, it's our ability to see potential in people that's going to be irreplaceable. I hope that you got something out of today's episode. Again, let me know any questions around AI. I know AI and leadership, they're 2 things that seem disjointed, but I will tell you firsthand, I've used AI in just really my everyday to free up the time to go and do those leadership things, have those discussions, check on your team, check on, your leaders within the organization to see how they're doing, and spend that time having those authentic conversations. So as we wrap up the episode today, here's my challenge to you. This week, I want you to pick one area where you're drowning in that admin work, and there's probably more areas, but just pick one. It may be hiring, it may be that onboarding that we talked about, maybe it's feedback or development. And then I want you to test one AI tool, just one, and see how it gives you back time. And then use that time, right, to have those real conversations with somebody on your team, because that's what leadership is. Leadership is about creating that space for human moments that matter. Thank you for listening in today. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, do us a favor, hit that subscription button. I probably should have said that early on. It helps us grow this channel. And put down below, what else do you want to hear? What are some other challenges you have as a leader with AI, right? I'll make sure to get that in the queue, get an episode on it. One last thing, I believe in you. Thank you for stepping up to lead your team, your organization. Go be great. Talk to everyone on the next episode. Bye-bye.